Hi, I know what I promised in the last video, but frankly, I shouldn't be making any promises anyway with how inconsistent my uploads are. I figured, since it's spooky season, now that I have the motivation to make another video, why not focus on something more spooky? That's right, because nothing is scarier than pronouns. Imagine the movie, Friday the 13th if you will, but worse in every conceivable way. You'd probably get something close to They/Them. They/Them is a 2022 horror slasher directed by John Logan. In case the title wasn't on the nose enough, it's about a group of queer teens at a conversion camp trying to survive while a mysterious killer is about.
Do you think your parents are disappointed in you?
Sometimes.
So what do? You try to make yourself special. You become they.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of conversion camps, they are essentially harmful places that use discredited practices in an attempt to change one's sexuality or gender identity, often targeting minors. It's a method of turning people back into straight and or cisgender that has been rejected by every mainstream medical and mental health organization. Seeing as there is substance here for a decent horror film, I understand why John Logan would want to take a stab at it. It's a practice that is degrading and torturous towards those who simply don't follow the heteronormative ideals set in our society. Since nobody owns a Peacock subscription, I figured I could just give you the full rundown. The movie starts off with a woman driving in the middle of nowhere and accidentally runs over some road spikes. She gets jump scared by a crappy CGI deer and gets murdered right after. We then cut to the main cast at the camp. The camp leader, Owen, starts going on a winded speech about how gay conversion camp isn't all that scary, and actually, they're just here to help find happiness. Much like a spider to its parlor.
I can't make you straight. I don't want to make you straight. Gay people are A-okay with me.
And of course, he makes everyone put their electronics in a bin as well as medications. They're divided into the boys and girls cabins, but wait a minute, it's almost like they forgot what kind of camp they're running.
I'm trans and non-binary. I use they/them pronouns, as in, they can't believe they're at this camp.
He just tells them to stay with the boys, and if that doesn't work, both of them can figure something out. Aside from introducing the supporting camp counselors at the beginning, this movie hates introducing and addressing people by name. I'm not even kidding. It takes some of these guys more than half the movie for their names to be shared. Hell, I barely knew Owen was the name of this guy until the last 10 minutes of the movie. Toby is the overly flamboyant gay stereotype who only agreed to the camp because his parents promised expensive tickets to a thing in New York. Veronica is the stereotypical bisexual with a whack-ass haircut who's upset at the fact she isn't straight. Stuart is an athlete for his high school swim team that wants to continue his dad's legacy of joining his fraternity at college, but quote,
"Not like this."
Kim's parents are threatening to disown her and she wants to fit in with her community. Alexandra is a lesbian that just wanted her parents to shut up about it. Gabriel is also here too, I guess. He doesn't have much of a story. He's just been called slurs and doesn't like it. But you know, at this camp, who hasn't really? And Jordan, who is non-binary, comes from a religious upbringing and wants to legally emancipate themselves from their family. There's also a few extras in the cast of kids that don't say a single word. Not sure what the point of them is, but they roam around throughout the movie. The next morning, Alexandra wakes up early to take a shower alone, only for one of the staff members to barge in on her for some reason, at which she's outed as being trans who hasn't undergone bottom surgery, leading Owen to move her into the boys' cabin. He dead names Alexandra in front of everyone, and both groups are split into their respective activities. The boys are participating in some American Ninja Warrior training course, while the girls do arts and crafts. After the montage is over, Alexandra tries to bargain with the camp nurse to take her estrogen pills. She explains that her parents would withhold her brother from seeing her if she didn't go to the camp. What does this have to do with her taking estrogen exactly? Nothing, really, but the nurse decides to give her the pills anyway as a secret between them. All the teens are then rounded up and blindfolded while cuffed to one of their peers to sleep with for the night. This is all just an excuse for the staff to sneak through their bags for ammo to use in therapy, but there's way less conspicuous ways to get them away from their cabins. Why not wait till they're both in their groups doing an activity or literally anything else that seems less suspicious than handcuffs and blindfolds in the middle of nowhere? Kim starts to open up about her life to Veronica, admitting that she doesn't know any trans people and will get shunned for being queer in her community. which gets them to start flirting with each other? I don't know. Jordan, meanwhile, is starting to suspect that there might be something wrong with this conversion camp.
Too late, I'm pregnant.
The therapist finds Jordan's defaced Bible and tries using it against them during her analysis. She essentially regurgitates the very common transphobic rhetoric of, "You aren't actually trans, you are just doing it for attention," which firstly is an inaccurate stereotype of what being trans is, and secondly a fucking moronic point to make in this context. In what world would choosing to be queer be a logical step in gaining the love of your homophobic Christian parents? This assumption about Jordan's behavior doesn't make any sense, but regardless, it still gets to them later that day. Jordan starts to question the validity of their own identity and almost breaks, but is reassured that they need to be kinder towards themselves. If it's a choice to be made, why would they willingly make life harder for themselves? I'm paraphrasing a bit, but the sentiment is really interesting and helps Jordan realize that they are who they say they are and how they express themselves. Anyway, y'all like Pink songs? Talk about tonal whiplash. Jordan later sneaks into the staff cabin to dig up any dirt on the camp and finds photos of previous children that have been harmed for multiple decades. The camp nurse finds Jordan and insists she had no idea of the camp's past and agrees to help them out.
Be careful. This could get a lot worse, and he doesn't like you.
Well, he has no idea who he's hunting this time.
We're now shown the groundskeeper being a creep and spying on the girl's shower room moments before he is promptly murdered by the slasher. Yeah, that's right. I bet you forgot this movie is even a slasher film, seeing as it takes halfway through the movie to show a second victim. But that doesn't matter, because now there is yet another scene where the kids are divided into gender-specific activities. The girls are instructed to bake pies, while the boys shoot guns. Owen, of course, shares his elementary understanding of how biology works and insists that this specific group of teens has a wired instinct to hunt and kill. Sure, buddy, look at me dead in the eyes and tell me this guy has the instincts of a killer. Jordan reveals that they have experience using firearms and is challenged to a shooting contest, winning fairly quickly. Owen then shows off his Stone Age ideals by going on another tirade about how men are genetically wired to shoot flesh. To demonstrate this, he forces Toby to shoot the f***ing dog, and if he doesn't put him out of his misery, then the athletics director will break the dog's legs. Bro, give him some space, goddamn. Jordan, of course, ends up shooting the dog instead. Meanwhile, Kim is being flirted with by the very adult Camp Crafts lady, making her incredibly uncomfortable. I think this is ironic, because if she thinks unwanted flirting with women will make other women straight, would the reverse not make most women gay? Like, objectively speaking, if this kind of behavior changed women's sexuality, wouldn't there be barely any straight women left because of how often they experience it from men? Veronica comforts Kim by the docks and reveals she's actually there to write a college paper about how cruel conversion camps actually are. And then she eats her out, because it wouldn't be a mediocre horror film without gratuitous sexual situations that shows way too much than needed.
I keep expecting Jason Voorhees to come out of these woods. Who?
But gastronomic, you might be asking. What if I'm not attracted to women? What if I'm a boy kisser instead? Brother, are you in luck, because after a brief scene of Jordan, Alexandra, and Toby planning an escape, we get another sex scene. This time, Gabriel catches Stuart swimming and joins him in the water, which is all it takes for him to fold apparently. But he's a fool, you see, for it was all just a ruse to make Stuart prove that he failed at being straight and is still gay. Alright.
Gabriel is our little forbidden fruit, if you'll pardon the expression.
He's then strapped to an electric chair for aversion therapy and is tortured. The nurse stands up against Owen after he drags in Stuart's unconscious body. The athletics and crafts director are in bed sharing pictures from the kids' phones to each other, hinting that neither of them are actually straight and that they're hypocrites. Doesn't really matter, they both get murdered anyway alongside Gabriel. Yeah, that's right, you already forgot this was a slasher movie again, didn't you? Seeing as it's their third appearance after half an hour of nothing. Everyone is rightfully in a panic when Veronica and Kim stumble across the bodies, and now Owen is against the idea of giving firearms to children. Toby rushes to the side of Stuart and acts like he's the love of his life when he was literally just pounding Gabriel not even an hour ago.
Are you up for this? They're scared and it's a long way to town.
Honey, please. I'm a black transgender woman. I could do it in heels. All right, kids. Time to go. Come on. Right now. Step up, you Stay close to mama.
Ma'am, the line is, yeah, I can lead them.
Do either of you know how to shoot?
Yes.
Of course you do.
What does this mean? Is there some stereotype about lesbians handling firearms that I don't know about? This is never brought up again anyway, it doesn't matter. After getting Owen in a bad position, the killer reveals herself to be a former victim of conversion therapy named Angie, who pretended to be the nurse so that she could kill all the staff and take down the camp. She gives a very long speech with questionable acting, but gets interrupted by Owen tackling her. Jordan then is given the chance to kill Owen but hesitates regardless of the pain he has caused to countless children. They ultimately decide that murder isn't the answer, but Angie kills him anyway. She wants Jordan to join her on her mission to end all conversion camps, but they refuse. Then the police show up and the kids live happily ever after, or at least get to leave the camp alive. So, is this movie good? No, not really. It has this issue of having a unique plot while also consisting of bland writing and questionable directing choices. But at least they got queer actors to play their respective identities, from what I saw in the casting at least. This movie is supposed to have queer representation and be a horror movie, but it doesn't feel like it did either justice. This is one of the few times I agree that the focus on diversity played an actual detriment to the film's quality. Yes, we see different perspectives and learn about each of their experiences, but it doesn't build to a satisfying payoff. It's hinted that Stewart's internalized homophobia is causing him discomfort around the idea of being himself, only to embrace his queerness by the end, but there's no real bridge showing his journey. One minute he was rude to everyone and annoyed by Toby, but one musical number later they become a couple off screen? Not to mention Stewart casually topping someone else but still acts like Toby is the love of his life? I feel like this only feeds to the gays or promiscuous stereotype even more. What about Alexandra's ultimatum she mentioned earlier? We don't get any flashbacks or references to the fallout with her parents and the love for her brother, aside from a conversation that didn't feel relevant. Veronica's reveal of secretly being at the camp to write about how horrible it is doesn't come back either. Even a scene of her getting a scholarship and bringing Kim home would have felt rewarding. She could have survived the worst week of her life and started the next chapter of it from that traumatizing event. We aren't going to conclude Jordan's plotline by showing them arrive at a new city or something to celebrate their freedom? What about the camp counselors and their hypocrisy that isn't really brushed upon or goes into depth of how they rationalize their own behavior? These scenes would be corny, sure, but at least they build off of previously mentioned plot lines instead of just leaving them hanging. If you're going out of your way to include details about characters, have a reason to. If you want empowerment to be a focal point, then show the characters being empowered. Otherwise, it's just fat that could be trimmed. This isn't even mentioning the weak slasher reveal. Not only was she suspicious the whole time, but there's barely any slasher action with the exception of 2 scenes and the last 20 minutes. At that point, just let Owen and gang be the main threat instead of a psychotic victim. The camp already mentally and physically abuses kids. We didn't need an external factor for the horror element. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you want to see more of these videos, please let me know. This is the first of its kind on my channel and I would love to hear feedback of what I can improve. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to keep up with my 3 uploads a year. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye! And you are just doing it for attention, which firstly is an inaccurate stereotype of what being trans is